Good afternoon and welcome to another Kerfuffle webinar, and I am delighted to have in the hat a beautiful hat there, beautiful bit of merch. Hold on to that, it'll be worth very little in years to come. Sentiment and value and all that. Tim, we have you from Keyzapp here today. How are you, sir?
I'm very good, thanks, Simon. Yeah, no, I had to actually wear the merch because I don't know if you can see it. There's a big spotlight in my house over the top of my head. So if I took the cap off, what you'd be blinded by is the light bouncing off the top of my forehead. So
a lovely aura. I thought it was just giving a aura there. So Tim, how's stuff with you? Ignoring all that normal pandemic rubbish? How's business?
Not bad at all. Not bad at all. Yeah. Fun enough, I've given up trying to predict what happens with the pandemic. Yeah. We have quiet months when I expect a busy month, and then really busy months when I expect a quiet month. Just taking it as it comes, really. It's all going pretty well.
Brilliant. Well, you know what's brilliant? I've done so many of these now that I've made so many contradictory predictions that somewhere on record, I'm going to be right no matter what. So I just, in 6 months' time, I can go back and say, see, I told you so. If it's one of the other names I'm known by unofficially. Right, Tim, I'm delighted to have you on here today. Again, a lovely bit of technology, right in that sweet spot again, not created in an ivory tower, but really, really nice cutting-edge technology delivering on a real-world challenge, and that's always the best sort of that. Also, and these are always very exciting because anyone knows me, the minute I actually ironically touch technology, it tends to go wrong. We're going to try and do a live demonstration later, aren't we, Tim?
Yeah, we are. So yeah, we're taking that risk.
So I've got all my lovely little key fobs ready and everything else here. So I'm ready and waiting whenever you are. But let's start off at the moment. As I always say, this is welcome to the platform. Welcome to Kerfuffle. Let's just spend this one as if nobody knew you. I think the clue's in the name, but could you just give us a bit of background, really, Tim? What is Keyzapp?
Yeah, so Keyzapp combines a few different technologies to really make the sort of whole process of managing keys kind of really simple for everyone. So, I mean, everybody's aware keys are an absolute nightmare, and we've sort of come up with some ideas for bringing them together.
Excellent. And of course, this is it would be fair to say you're not the only providers here. And what do you feel you do that little bit different that gets you noticed?
Yeah. So I mean, I think the thing for us is we kind of look at key management not just in one dimension, but in lots of ways. So if you think about it, lots of people think when they think about keys, they think about maybe like a key cabinet or something which is, there in the office on the wall, or a lot of people have that focal point, don't they? The sort of the key book at the front of the office. I think the thing that we sort of found when talking to people about keys is that key management happens kind of everywhere. So not just, it does happen, it's very important sort of back there at the key cabinet, but actually it's happening outside the office when people pass keys around, or it could be, if you've got lots of offices, people picking up keys from one place and dropping them back somewhere else. And certainly it's about chasing keys, making sure that once you've given those things out, that they actually come back and that you're able to stay on top of it. So we try to look at everything kind of in the round. And I say we have some sort of fairly sort of low-cost, simple, accessible tech that we can use to kind of help you with that and just make the process as easy as possible.
Now, stop hitting us with clickbait here, Tim. You've got you've chucked in a bit of easy, accessible tech. This is all stuff I obviously love and agents want to hear, especially when it's dealing with that real-world pain in the arse, as many agents would talk about. Not least in the middle of a bloody pandemic. So we'll come on to that aspect of it later on. But I want to talk to you about, obviously, what's nice to hear is that obviously that how you differentiate yourself. But the key elements is, as well as we'll come back to some of the reviews later on. You are wonderfully 5-star rated on our little site at the moment, and that's great. But you're also recognised in the Best Supplier Award at EA Masters, which is again a great accolade. All of this obviously adds up to those, what do they say, success leaves clues, and that's certainly one of those. So what is that secret then? What would you, if you were to put it on one element, what would you say it was?
I think in terms of the really positive response that we've got, funny enough, I think it's actually because people are often like really pleasantly surprised that the problem can be solved. And sometimes once you take something like key management, which almost everybody does have some sort of issue with. Almost every agent will say it's the bane of my life. I probably hear that the most. But actually then when you actually do solve it, you kind of realize kind of how much of a pain it really was. And so you get that really kind of positive feeling, I suppose, at the end, when you can suddenly focus on other things and you realize how much it was dragging you down. So yeah, from sort of talking to people, that's sort of one of the biggest things that kind of pops up when we say, what, because we were as surprised as anyone else actually when we won that award, because let's face it, it's not a glamorous subject, is it?
Well, look, I dare say, and apologies in advance to all of our compliance partners, but they know how I feel about that. It's one of those jobs that, if you want to sell houses, it's an essential part of the job, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we all want to be out there being the rock stars at a market appraisal, but the stuff that goes on behind to make it happen and to really get the efficiencies of the business is simply things like this, isn't it? It's getting it ticking over, because that's where you can quite easily, as we just said there, do a stellar market appraisal and wow them in there, but you're being judged on those high standards, and every time you let them down with a key faux pas or something like that, that review that you're hoping for at the end of the process, or that nice word that they say to one of their friends, family, whatever else, just tends to disappear, doesn't it? So look, it is absolutely it's absolutely vital, I think.
Yeah, you're right. There's nothing worse, is there, than sort of putting that key in the door and suddenly realizing it doesn't work. Or I had it actually just a few weeks ago. The flat beneath me is being sold at the moment, and I could hear the agent showing someone round, literally putting key after key into the door to try and work out which one it was. So yeah, I mean it's annoyingly, it's really hard to get right, even though sort of to most people it feels like it should be straightforward.
Every time they take the piss in a comedy on on the TV, don't they, about estate agents? The one that's just guaranteed, the one guaranteed joke they will make is that, brought the wrong key along, or so, and that it's like all of these things, isn't it? It might be trite, it might be often repeated, but it's done for a reason. That's well, and that is there. What I totally tuned into, what you were just saying there a minute ago, though, was that point about people said, well, it's always been like this, and that acceptance almost that actually it's always going to be a pain in the arse, and that level of inertia is really dangerous, isn't it, for anybody? I'm not just talking about estate agents, but if you don't challenge yourself to say, well, actually, let's see if this can be improved on, well, the only way you can guarantee your process won't improve is with that attitude, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it really, keys are as old as the industry, aren't they, really? They've been around forever, and there are so many different factors sort of to do with them, how you label them, how you store them. Obviously, for security reasons, you want to definitely avoid keeping the address and the key close together, all of those things. So it's really not surprising that it's a problem. And yeah, I think probably what sort of struck me when I came to sort of look at this problem fresh is that there really was across, a lot of people were just, it's a fact of life. It's an absolute pain. I absolutely hate it. But there's nothing really that can be done about that. And so yeah, we try to challenge it really with and make it, as I say, accessible.
Yeah, right. So Tim, as a kid, you've got a choice. You want to be a professional footballer. You want to be a rock star. What got you into keys?
Yeah, I took a bit of a non-standard route. So I actually wasn't an agent beforehand. I was working in industry, and you just mentioned, the compliance was where I pretty much was. So my job, I worked one of the ones I really remember was I worked for an energy trading company, and my job was to try and get traders to do things that would stop them going to prison. But it's basically involved filing, writing stuff down in the right way. And I don't know if you've met any commodities traders, but they're kind of like sales negotiators. You've got to, maybe with an intravenous Red Bull drip, So really kind of, I was sort of working over in that space. And I had a member of my family was, they'd just been promoted to run a lettings branch.
Yeah.
And he just sort of said this, it's these really kind of frustrating things, effectively the little things that stop you doing the big things. And yeah, his issue was, I think they said that embarrassingly, they were late taking a property to market because they didn't want to admit that they didn't know where the keys for the property were and they couldn't get into it. It all sort of, sounds silly stuff, but was really making a huge difference. And I guess was my co-founders and I were at the same boat. We were sort of thinking, we wanted a change of career, and we just thought with the way things were moving on, we saw some opportunities, I suppose, to have a go at solving the problem. Started a bit of a, I suppose, it wasn't really a garage, but I suppose a back room type experiment type of thing. And yeah, about 5 years ago, gave up the day job, and here I am.
I was going to say garage is what, that's the old Apple Steve Jobs.
The
isn't
old
it?
Silicon Valley. Yeah, no, I'd be lying. I don't have a garage.
And so when was that? Was that 5 years ago when it was?
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's getting on for 6 now. I still call us a startup, but I'm not sure I can really anymore. Yeah. Yeah. That's about 6 years ago. We started. About 5 years ago was when I personally came out of my other job to work on this full time.
Okay, cool. And look, we've spoke about the differences between the other obviously key providers and everything else out there. But what do you think the main reasons that people come to you specifically? What do they think they're getting from Keyzapp that they won't get from anybody else?
Yeah, I think that's probably a variety of things. One of the things that the way we try to talk about key management is it's all about making it really easy, simple for people, and sort of taking away barriers to entry. So those barriers to entry, in some case, might be cost. There are, particularly before we started, there were these great big, like cabinet solutions that would be great in like a prison for looking after keys, but overkill for a lot of agents, for example. So sometimes it's a sort of it's a cost barrier, and they like the fact, and we can talk about this a bit later, they like the fact with Keyzapp you've got loads of different options basically as to how you kind of want to sort of set it up for you. The other thing I think is maybe sort of it's flexibility. Everybody actually has their own different process, and as I said, I didn't actually come at this from being an agent myself, and I won't lie, our first 6 months when we looked at this, we thought it was going to be we came up with the sort of the contactless tech, which we'll talk about in a second, but we came up with the technology and we thought, this should be quite straightforward. And then we realized that everybody's process is different and everybody works slightly differently. Some people, there's a real kind of commercial advantage behind that, but others, it's just like, I don't want to change how people work because it's too much effort. And so we ended up then putting a lot of time in sort of flexing the tech around how people work. So however you approach it, it's intuitive for you. And I think that's the big thing. I think a lot of people like, they just say, it's so easy, it's straightforward. If my team can't do this, then they probably shouldn't be in my team, kind of thing.
And we just spoke about at the beginning about this. So it's a difficult job enough anyway, looking after keys with all the logistics there. Throw in a global pandemic and social distancing and everything else. And I'm guessing that's not your ideal. That wasn't what you wished from 2020 in a business sense, was it? So how have you managed to cope with that added complexity?
Yeah, and I think it really has. It's kind of just like it has in a lot of other ways. It's maybe accelerated a few trends that might have been happening anyway. As I sort of said at the beginning, a lot of the solutions that were around before us, so 5 years ago, as then they were all really focusing on like locking keys into the wall or that kind of thing. And I think more and more, we are working much more kind of dynamically. And obviously with the pandemic, people are working from home. You want to be able to see, you want to be able to see if a key is available for a property, but you might not be anywhere near the key book. And I think about 80% of people still have some sort of key book, believe it or not. It's quite high. And so, the ability to be able to just see what's going on from anywhere is really, really making a big difference. I think also people aren't going to the office. So, you might need to pass keys around kind of outside of the office, for example, from one person to another. And historically, that's quite hard to track. And one of the things we'll see in a minute is, the ability to be able to sort of like just zap a key on a mobile phone to pass it to someone else, but still keep track of where it is, has also happened quite a lot. And I think maybe, sorry.
I'll just say, no, that's nice. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, and I think possibly a third trend that I'm seeing is actually this people moving away from the sort of traditional single hub way of working anyway. And a couple of our clients early doors kind of gave us a call and said, well, actually, I'm not even sure I need my office anymore, but at the moment my office is kind of working like a kind of glorified key cabinet, and we're only going in there to pick up keys and things like that. So for some, and this isn't obviously for everybody, but for some it's actually opening kind of other opportunities. Can I get rid of that single focal point and work in a much more kind of dispersed fluid manner?
Not trying to tease it out of you at all, but you spoke about that 80% of agents, which absolutely I can believe still has the traditional. There's obviously there's efficiency points on this as well. Is there also a security angle? What percentage of those would you guess, and that would say aren't particularly being let's just say that safety minded around it?
Yeah, I think people sometimes underestimate how sophisticated thieves can be. We've certainly had. I mean, one of the reasons people come to us is they've had some sort of big kind of trigger point, some big disaster with a key or something like that says, okay, now I need to look at a way of doing this differently. And yeah, I mean, there's been a number of occasions where, for example, burglars have gone into a property. Again, we're probably at higher risk at the moment when the offices aren't manned as much as they previously were. Ripping key cabinets off walls, even if they're locked and secure. And then there was one in London last year where they literally turned the whole office upside down trying to find a written key log, and and thank goodness they had actually locked it away in that instance. But yeah, I think people, it's very easy, isn't it, to get carried away if you've got a paper-based process to make sure you're following that some sort of security routine every single time. Is really hard to do. So by digitizing all of this, you can actually do away with that. The other thing you see a lot is people kind of writing some sort of abbreviation on a key. Most people, there are some, I won't name them, there are some who actually were walking around with 17 High Street written on the key set. But a lot of people will put some sort of abbreviation like 17HS or something like that. And again, I think you're at risk there, because I think thieves, they're not that daft. I think if you do that and you get a break-in, you're quite exposed. And I don't know what the insurance.
They ordinarily live very local, don't they? And it won't take them two guesses, will they, to suss it out? You're absolutely right there. So look, at the risk of risking the demo god's wrath, I think you're going to show us, aren't you, a bit of an overview of the of how it works. Do you want me to just put the screen? So I think you'll be hidden, but I'll tell you if it's all working on the screen. So we've got a Keyzapp, what looks like a kind of Google screen on here with your from your homepage login, I think.
Yeah, that's right. So I think one of our first clients called it Google for Keys, just as a way to describe it to her colleagues, and actually we really liked that, so we've kind of stuck with that, I suppose, as a mode of working. And it's really all about, as I say, it's about having something that's really, really simple, kind of feels quite basic to use on the front end here, so that it's, you don't need any real training to understand what you need to do. So if I just do a quick example, let's say I've got I need to take the keys to a certain property. If I start typing in a bit of my property address, I've got to click in the right box here. There we are. It's going to find me from my list of properties. And it's showing me straight away kind of all the keys at a glance. I can see where all those keys are. All of this numbering, all of this stuff can all be completely configured to how you work with your keys. So if you do it differently to how I'm showing it here, that's all very flexible, very changeable, sort of based on each business.
Away here, I mean, the UI is very clean, simple to, for me to pick up really the first time I've seen it here. Dead simple, almost traffic-like style approach there. I know what's what to look out for and kind of what's green and okay.
Yeah, no, that's right. And then, I mean, we haven't talked that much about it so far, but sort of one of the party pieces, I guess, of Keyzapp is this fact that we can provide you with these tags. They are actually optional, but most people have them. I don't know if you can see me on the screen there. Yeah, and I know you've got some there, Simon, as well. The idea here is we have a tag that in there's a contactless chip, just like your contactless credit card, and that chip can kind of talk to various different devices. So if I'm working from my computer here, there's a very low cost of about 30 quid kind of reader here like that you can get that will plug into any computer. You can tap that and you can actually use that to sign the key out, to look up what key it's for. So we talked a moment ago about, maybe you don't want to print on here what the key is, but one tap on your mobile phone or on this, and you can quickly get that information. So let's just do a quick example here. I've got, I want to sign out key. I think I've got 40C here. So I take my tag, I touch that to my reader, and I pray to the demo gods that it's going to work. There we go. And what we've now got is a really kind of streamlined process that we sort of funnel people into. Again, if you imagine, you know, high turnover of staff, that sort of thing, you don't necessarily have time to train someone in a really complicated system, but hopefully here it's really kind of obvious what you've got to do next. So I've scanned the key, it's figured out the property, it's figured out the key ring, and it's now saying, who am I trying to give this key to? And I can either search for that person, or for regular contractors, people like that, I can actually give them their own tag that maybe they keep on their own keys, and I touch that. So I can issue a key just like that. Tap, tap, add in some extra information like when it's due back, crucially important if I'm going to start chasing them later on, and then just one click. Sorry, I'm clicking on the wrong box. One click there, and the key's signed out. So I hope you saw sort of the idea there. Is it's just something really simple, straightforward, very easy to use, to get keys in and out.
Yeah, that's as slick as it comes, isn't it? Very easy, very, you know, lovely that there is that audit trail there. And just so I understand it, it doesn't really matter. Is that just using that, what's it called, NFC technology then, is it?
It is, yeah. So it's NFC. Yep, that's exactly what it is. Yeah.
So that's pretty ubiquitous these days, isn't it? It used to have specific apps and things like that, but most of them, most devices these days have that kind of inbuilt, don't they?
They do indeed, yeah. And I mean, we're all, I think also on the back, we also have these QR codes as well. So everybody's now, with the pandemic, getting used to scanning QR codes, things like that. The idea is that from a phone or from something like I've got here plugged into the computer, one touch, and you can sign the key in or out. Very, very straightforward.
Who would have guessed, Tim, that a global pandemic would have given life to QR codes again? It was
yeah, exactly.
And actually, that's talking about it, isn't it? That was the classic phase. It was they had a brief moment in the sun, didn't they, a few years back? And like a lot of technology, kind of it goes away to think about things as if it was an organic creature or something else. And then actually people find different ways. And the evolution, I think, was that you didn't have to have that app again for QR codes, did you? Most of the new phones, if you just focused on it, would know that it's a QR. And bring that up automatically, and that makes all the world of difference, doesn't it, in terms of adoption?
It certainly does. And to be honest, it was a little bit of, when I said it was about 5 years ago we did this, that adoption wasn't quite there 5 years ago. So in some ways, it was a little bit of a bet for us to kind of bet on this stuff. But it's, yeah, absolutely, it's really coming into its own now. Every phone can do it, which obviously lowers, you know, it's sort of second nature, really, isn't it, now to sort of do these things. And I think the main difference, instead of just using QR codes just for marketing, which is I think what they were, wasn't it, like a few years ago, it was usually like scan this poster and see my offer. It's actually building those things into processes, as you just saw there. So just making it part of a, you know, it can kind of be used as part of like an automation or to speed business up, rather than just a sort of a poster type idea.
Oh, yeah. So what we were obviously focused there on the technology. That all looks absolutely solid, and it looks great. That it's got a platform that, again, I can see, I find my way around very, very easy. On there. But let's just talk about kind of almost from a marketing thing. And if it's okay with you, I've just got rid of you just for a second, just to show that it's not about my narcissism and having to just show me on. But again, I don't know if people can see that. You can see there, ignore my Donald Trump hands, but we can see Electric Event Centre with an image on there. We've got the little Keyzapp fob as well in place. And then, yes, we've got the obviously messages you want to get across. So talk to us about those. Talk to us about those design options there, Tim.
Yeah. So again, I mean, the way you can come at this really is it's really down to you. So there's also a sticker, I think, isn't there, that I've sent you as well. So at the sort of, if you just want, brilliant, yeah. If you just want the sort of some of the scanning kind of capability that I've just shown you, and you're not that bothered about kind of what it looks like, or maybe you've already got nice key fobs that you've already made up, you can start by just taking a sticker and just attaching that to your existing tag, and you can provide all this kind of automation just for a very, very low, very, very simple cost. And then it kind of goes up from there. A lot of people really do like to stick their brand on the tags, and there's all sorts of different options. So again, I'm holding it up here, but again, Simon's already done that. Really, it's help if I got it the right way round, wouldn't it? There's no real limit to kind of what you can do with these. You can print them up. You can put your brand on it. Some people like to. Some people will actually add like a little reward, so you can kind of have a bit of a sort of lost and found service around the keys as well. And if you really want to take it to an extreme, we can talk about really bespoking it. I've got one client who's really keen to do it in sort of like a house shape and that sort of thing. So it is actually possible to go kind of all the way with it and really turn it into like an extra little marketing tool.
Yeah, I'm not. I would never be so gauche as to focus on cost and price and everything else there. But surely there is a big cost benefit here to the, if you lose, if you lose those keys ordinarily, you are looking at, you're looking at a serious, you're looking at a serious cost there, aren't you? Whereas you'd like to think with this, it's going to keep a lid on that, isn't it?
It does, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you can never completely stop somebody losing a key. But what you can do is, firstly, you can make sure that everybody's accountable. And I think in the case of a lot of agents, it's not always the agent that is losing the key. I think probably most people will be able to identify with a situation where somebody's swearing blind to them that they brought the thing back. And they haven't, and they know they haven't, but you've got no way of kind of proving it, that sort of thing. And I think with this, the way the sort of traceability works is that, hiding. So if somebody does lose a key, they don't bring it back, you know who it was, and you can then actually potentially pass some of those costs on when it does happen. The other thing, actually, there was a little bit more demo, wasn't there? We were going to try, actually, if you want to attempt to get your phone out.
It's okay. Let's just which fob was it? What I needed was it?
If you grab the little blue, go for this little blue one. Some of the others might work, but let's not risk it. There you go. I haven't set them up right.
Just tap at the top. That's right, isn't it? Okay. So
that's right. Yep.
Open the key tag. Goes into demos. Okay, so just so anyone knows here, I don't know if it's probably a bit of a clash there, but it's basically just saying found these keys ? Please return to the following address, and it obviously gives the address of the agency there, or send us your details so we can contact you to arrange a collection. And it gives you a few simple forms there, name, phone, and obviously where you found them and everything else. And then you just click on send. I mean, it's all very obvious, very slick, and everything else there. So that sounds, that's that's the quickest demo I've ever done. Anyway, so
and what that does, I mean, that actually enables you to do something, if you want, that is a little bit different to what a lot of other competitors might be doing, because especially in some sectors, you've now got this kind of lost and found service. There's a reason for your tenants, potentially, if you're doing lettings in particular, to maybe keep that tag on their keys, where previously, if you issue a tag, the first thing they'll do is take it off. But if you say, look, I'll help you recover that key if you leave the tag on, it then means your tenants are walking around with your brand in their pockets all the time. And certain demographics, particularly, we see this done the most maybe in sort of like the young professionals and the student sector. Students, of course, are always losing keys, so it's a real benefit to be able to know which key got lost, who lost it, and getting it back again and getting it right back to people. But what it also means is they're walking around all the way through their student year with your brand as well, which a lot of people really like.
Imagine that. And there was the ability for me to log in as well, wasn't there, as well? So
there is. Do you want to give that a quick go? I think
so.
I want to show here,
I've just logged in on that password you gave me. So there, and it's now just telling me that keyring 40B is currently assigned to you, and it just says the following 2 keys should be on this keyring. ID 1 is the front door, 2 is the back door. Descriptions against each of a Yale and Chubb key. So, and there's a serial number option there as well, if appropriate.
Yeah, and I guess the idea here is if you can give this to your contractors, they can have like a slightly more limited view than maybe your staff would have, but they can use it. They just have to touch the key, as Simon's just done there, to your phone, and it'll tell you everything you need to know about that key. So you can do away with that sort of giving out details on pieces of paper or stuff like that. There's also a messaging system that goes with it, which is a lot harder to demo because it usually happens on a time scale. But
don't push our luck.
Yeah. The idea behind that is you can also text or email out information about keys, and crucially, you can have the system automatically chase those keys back for you as well. So if Simon's got that key right now, and he hasn't brought it back by the time I've set, then he'll start receiving reminders, and maybe I'll start receiving reminders as well to make sure that those keys are coming back.
Excellent. Okay, that's really, really impressive. And look, I mean, I think obviously it's very clear that this can be used as a standalone platform in its own right, absolutely self-contained, and you're going to get massive efficiency things out of that. But of course, what everyone in life wants is to, you know, is that bit extra, isn't it? It's to save a bit of time and everything else. So I'm hoping the answer to this is going to be yes. Are you integrated with other systems? You know, I would.
Yeah, we do. So we've got a. It kind of works in two ways at the moment. So you've got what you might call like traditional integrations with some of the CRMs. We've got a couple of those at the moment, and actually for us, it's a real focus this year to do many more. So at the moment, we're integrating with Desres, the new Resi platform. I think you might have spoken to Rich about that, didn't you, a little while ago?
Yeah, it looks very exciting. Just as a matter of interest, yep. Easy to integrate with, useful.
Sorry, I missed the question there. Sorry.
So was it, from your experience, was it easy to integrate with their new platform?
Yes, very much so. Because again, as I think they told you, they built it kind of with integration at the center from the ground up. So yeah, that's been a really good story. We've also done it with SME Professional, who I know of a lot of agents up in Scotland, and they work with the Belvoir Northwood franchises as well. And we're getting a lot of demand for others as well. So the next one on the list is probably Repit and the Repit Foundations platform. We're getting onto the back of that. And then, yeah, we're continuing to go there. So it's definitely worth, I mean, now, as I say, we're really thinking about it at the moment. So if people have questions about what platforms they're using or suggestions where to go next, now's a good time to get in touch with that pink kerfuffle button and start the conversation. Always helps. People like us, we're in some ways, we're a niche provider. We're not there to try and do everything the CRMs are doing. We do one thing, and we do that one thing really well. But sometimes, you know, it's a two-way thing with integrations, isn't it? You've got to, the CRMs have to want to do it as well. So any persuasion that our clients and our new clients might have to help us do that is always welcome.
Yeah, well, I'll whisper it quietly, and I'm sure they've improved it since I was there. But I remember wincing at the time we would get round to the part of the demonstration where we would look at keys, because one of the Achilles heels, but probably because it wasn't the sexy sizzle, was it? But it was an important part. Was, you know, the weakness of so many CRM systems is, you know, this is one of them, to be honest. So I would definitely think that CRM should be beating a trail to your door. And of course, if you are any of our partners out there, you want to speak to Tim, reach out directly or get in contact with me, and I'll happily pass on your details, because yeah, I'm sure, as you said, that would be such a natural type. It's untrue there. Cool.
Yeah. There's actually another, just quickly to sort of jump in, there's a kind of second way of integrating, I suppose, which is getting more and more popular now as well. And I think I've got somebody on one of your previous webinars, I was talking about this. Is this kind of, if you're a bit more tech savvy yourself as an agent, you can actually start gluing the pieces together yourself. So we've kind of invested quite a bit there as well. And that means, for example, that if a key goes overdue, something like that, we don't necessarily need to have like a full integration to be able to just send a signal out to another system. I think Zapier is one of the really popular ones that maybe people might have heard of. That's allowed some really quite cool things, like we've got a client that has like a task management system they use, and we don't have a formal integration with it, but actually by us sending a message when a key goes overdue, it enables them to, for example, create a task in their task system for somebody to go and follow that up and stuff like that. So there's some, you know, even I'd say if you've got like a modern kind of web-based CRM, there's probably something we can do at some level to do some level of integration even now. So yeah, we love talking about that kind of stuff.
Well, that's great. I mean, what just comes across there, though, Tim, is that you've got a willingness to integrate, to make it happen. And of course, with a lot of businesses, that isn't always the case. And you always feel you're just having to, you know, to the degree that many agents just give up because they've asked so many times. So that's great to hear. So you're going to be congratulated with that. And look, Tim, again, I'll make myself more unpopular as I have over a career. Our clients, if we're honest, many of them good friends, they're bloody high maintenance, this lot. So they like to know, you know, they like to know the nuts and bolts of this. You know, can you put what's this worth to an agent? You know, have you demonstrable kind of figures that you can touch upon that gives agents, you know, more of a handle on what they could expect?
Yeah, we're working on it, is what I'd say there. The what you find is that keys is one of those things. What's the classic term? You know, if it's not If it's not measured, it's not managed. And I think in a lot of cases where we're at the moment, a lot of people, they know it's a pain, but actually that sort of putting a figure on it is quite tough. What we find is that the majority of people, say if they're running like let's say your typical branch, maybe a couple of hundred keys, couple hundred properties under management, that sort of thing, they're easily able to say sort of, you know, 200 quid a month saving is the sort of thing that they reckon they get out of just the general toing and froing and sort of the human aspect of wasted time, I suppose, on keys. And we're actually working on with some of our clients at the moment on a sort of more structured way of looking at that, involving lots of spreadsheets. And again, we're really looking for input on that at the moment. But the sort of numbers we're getting at the moment is that sort of your average, you know, say 100 keys costs you probably about £2,000 a year to manage. And, you know, that's probably quite a surprising number to a lot of people. So yeah, it's
I can see absolutely the justification behind it. We'll have a chat off camera, Tim, because one of the things we do, we have what we call our trailblazer program, where a number of our agents like to work with people on projects like that.
Yeah.
So, you know, that would be quite an interesting one to put some detail around, because as you said there, look, if it's 200 minutes here, 200 minutes there, you know, who wouldn't want 3 hours extra prospecting a week? You know, that nobody's got. That's the one thing. Your time poor is the most poor you can be these days, isn't it? So
exactly. And keys is one of those things that kind of impacts you at every single part of the business as well. Like, you know, you can't really do much without at some point needing access to a property. So, and yeah, it's I think often surprising when you really think about it, kind of. Or, you know, that what you do realize is a complete headache actually can be translated into real losses and gains potentially. Yeah,
absolutely perfect. Well, look, what this is at the opposite end of, which agents are literally sick to death of, is people like me who I like to think I invented it, but I'm pretty sure I didn't. Was, you know, oh, you just need one more listing to pay for this.
Oh yeah, yeah.
What I would say probably where Keyzapp comes to me from is actually. It's the other end of the scale. It's actually the leaky bucket, not the leaky bucket in terms of leads, which in terms of many people there, but literally, as you said, those administrative tasks that are just onerous and take time. Now, that might not sound, as I said before, like the sizzle, but here's the thing. It's the one you are most demonstrably in control of, isn't it? Because you know you've got almost 100% control to make that more effective. And if you can there is a guarantee you will win back that time, ergo, you know, efficiencies and opportunity costs to do other things. So I think that's actually tremendously exciting. If you can, as you said, the challenge is quantifying it, because no one carries a stopwatch around with them, do they, while they're doing this kind of stuff? So anyway, we'll put our heads to that. If we can, so let's see if we can kerfuffle it up for you and see how we can do it.
That sounds great.
Okay, cool. So are there any other opportunities for agents we're missing?
Yeah, so I mean, we talked a little bit more about the ability to kind of offer like extra service, and I think you know, the way we typically look at this is it's really that headache time that it saves you, but there are things that quite often will then surprise you that kind of come out of it. So yeah, the ability to, you know, actually show people you're taking care of them by offering this, you know, this kind of extra service level. I can find your keys for you. If somebody finds this in the street, you know, because each tag is kind of unique to a specific set of keys, you know exactly whose keys they are, you know where they are, you know how to get them back, all that kind of stuff. And what's really interesting, a couple of enterprising clients are also starting to say, well, actually what I can do is now I've got trust in my key system. You know, it would be the last thing I wanted to do if I was in any way worried that I wouldn't be able to keep track of my keys. But as soon as I have trust in that, they're starting to do things like offer like a key holding service for their clients, either at a small cost or maybe not at a small cost, but really having that ability to use it as a means of staying in touch with people. So if you sell a property, for example, but then actually saying, well, sold the property, we do have a facility to hold keys for a nominal fee or again a goodwill thing, would you like us to keep hold of a set for you, things like that. It's a great way then of keeping contact with people and building business that way. Absolutely.
I mean, that's really, really impressive, because look, you know, many of the training gurus will critique agents for, look, you know, disappearing the minute that the deal is done there, and then trying to impress them again 7 or 8 years later when they try to sell after, you know, tumbleweeds in the intervening time. Now, you are always looking for excuses or good reasons to obviously stay in contact with them. And that's a really tangible benefit there that doesn't feel forced at all, does it? to do it. And I know myself, Christ, I would be all over that if I was a vendor.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And the one thing that, of course, it relies on is you having that absolute confidence that when they ask for that key, you're going to have it, because it can work the other way if that's not the case. So, you know, that's what we like to try and work with people on, to make sure that, you know, the whole thing needs to be about the problem going away. You need to have that confidence that I've got a key system that works, it's simple, I'm going to get out the information that is correct when I need it. And yeah, that's what it relies on. But yeah, I mean, there are interesting opportunities there, which maybe, yeah.
That sounds really, really good, Tim. And so look, I mean, obviously we've spoken about all these different benefits and everything else there, and I'll recap on those at the end. But one of the crucial things is, how easy is it to get started? What's the onboarding look like for your clients?
Yeah, and I think it's probably fair to say that this is probably one of the more daunting things that people have when they want to talk about changing the way they manage keys, because they know, again, it's fiddly, and they know that there's probably a big job, a big kind of potentially audit job to do ahead of time to kind of get things straight. So there's sort of two ways that you can approach that. Firstly, our approach is very much to talk to you up front, understand what it is you're trying to achieve, understand how your key system works today. We can then help with bringing that data in. We can even help with kind of massaging that a little bit to make it kind of fit, make it easy to use and understand. So there's always going to be a degree of kind of upfront effort that you as the agent need to put in, but actually it's not always as bad as all of that. And I'd say there's sort of two ways, as I say, of doing it. One is to do like a big bang upfront way of doing it. The other way is to actually start working with the information you've got, but gradually improving it over time. And that's what we find is also starting to work quite well, where you get the basics in, and your key system on day one is maybe not, you know, quite at the 100% you want it to be, but maybe it's about sort of 85%. And you, over time, you add the more information in as you scan the keys. You can kind of improve that, and that's another nice way of doing it, and it kind of takes the bite away of the big kind of upfront effort. But you know, I won't lie, you've got to, whenever you change anything in your business, you do have to be prepared to put the time behind it, and especially those kind of management clout to say, right, guys, we need to change this.
It's the old Hannibal Lecter, isn't it? Quid pro quo. You've got to put in enough to get something back out of this. That otherwise, life wouldn't be like that any other way, would it? And there is that opportunity cost of if you're going to sit around. The person that does have that sticking plaster approach, yes, it might feel uncomfortable for a couple of seconds, few minutes, whatever weeks it is there, but it's what you're aiming for. That's what you've got to think about, isn't it? Strategically, what it's going to win you back at the end of that.
Absolutely.
Because otherwise you're chasing your tail, basically.
And as I said, I think the nicest thing to see is when people kind of go, God, I didn't realize it was that much of a pain. When they suddenly go, oh, it's like a weight off the shoulders that I didn't even maybe 100% know was there.
You've just reminded me of that, actually. If it's all right with you, you can. I'll just pop up your wonderful page on here on Kerfuffle here. So let's see. Obviously, lovely 5-star rating, as you said there. Recognised at the Best Estate Agency Suppliers Guide. That's great to see there. Bit of information around you. We'll come back to that there. But you've got all these wonderful reviews from named people down here. Look at this. From Ben Churchill there. Pro lead generation. Changed my key system entirely. Like so many, we've always struggled with keys. Where are they? Who has them? Who had them last? Did the survey return them? And our paper system just wasn't up to the job. Keyzapp allows us to track everything literally at the swipe of a key. No more running around trying to find keys. Saved us both time and money, and I can honestly say, as a system, I cannot be without. Hassle-free, stress-free key management. That's absolutely lovely to see. And there's one actually. There's a classic one. I always look for, Tim. It's that standout header there. What took us so long? You're onto a good thing with a product or a service where you get those clients coming up and saying, oh, God, I wish I'd done it ages ago. And that's essentially what Patrick's saying there from Red Brick, isn't it? Outstanding. Biggest issue disappeared overnight. Tim was great to work with. Love how the system is simple but works. Annoyed it took us so long to admit we needed it. There's the challenge to anyone's inertia. So anyone looking at that, look at it hand on heart. See if you think you actually can say, we could be doing better, because I think that's wonderful. And look, they just go They just go on and on, don't they? So that's lovely to see. So keep those up. And then, yeah, Tim, do you want to just talk us through that that wonderful offer you've put there for our Kerfuffle members?
Yeah, sure. So, or what we've got, this is absolutely exclusive to Kerfuffle at the moment. So the first 20 people that get in touch with the big pink button that I think Simon's showing on the screen there, we're offering 100 free key tags of any style you like, so whatever is suitable to you. So it'll give you a really good opportunity to kind of get started with it if you want to do that. And then what, as we sort of just touched on then, what we find is really important actually is that it's about putting that understanding in upfront. How do you manage your keys? Can I produce something that looks and feels really simple to your team? And so I'm not trying to change anything more than I need to. It's really straightforward. And so what we've got here is our sort of like enhanced sort of setup package that we have. Obviously, there is quite a lot of effort involved on our side and on your side to kind of get all of that working. But we're going to do that. We're going to do that for free as well. Again, for Kerfuffle members, again, to really give you the best possible opportunity to make sure that you really can get to the end of it and say, I don't have the problem anymore.
Beautiful. Well, thanks for that. And I should say as well, you were so good with this. Look, a lot of suppliers get a bit panicky when we talk to them because they think, oh God, here we are. You know, Kerfuffle's just going to drive down our margins and go for, you know, try and get massive discounts and everything else there. Look, well, let's be clear. Of course, we always want to get a good deal, but far more important to us is we work with people like your good self, Tim, don't we? We find out what is the best solution you've got in your kit bag. Because often, you know, if people just drove down the prices, suppliers would often give a service, but actually they'd strip out elements of it to make it work commercially, and that means that often they wouldn't get the agent wouldn't get the best deal. So what I love here is you put in place this, you know, essentially your VIP deal here that will listen, have a proper turnkey solution for the agents. And do it all for you know, saving that you know, the setup fee, which I keep saying agents hate, even though it's very logical why suppliers change it. So saving $4.99 there is a really key saving. So thank you once more for that. And the 100 fobs on the back of that is an even better. But just to reiterate here, and I do, this is where I go into crazy whaley mode. That is for the first 20 to get in contact, and there is a time limit of 62 days. So do not do what most people do and wait till the 61st day. This isn't eBay. Get on it now. You're in lockdown, and there's a perfect time to try Keyzapp as a potential. So Tim, once again, just thank you for that element. So that's really kind of you to think of.
No, that's great. I mean, it's again, it's the important thing whenever you try anything new is that you get that support and that you get something that works for you. And that's, I think, what we really want to do. We want the opportunity to show you that it is actually going to change things for you. So yeah.
So your tagline, isn't it? I think for what I remember, is the fastest, simplest way to manage your keys. That's nice, concise. Ron Seal does what it is. But if I was to look at some key takeaways here, really is look. You can issue keys in an instant. That's absolutely fantastic. You can see who has those keys again, just with one click. Couldn't be any easier on that front. You can chase keys automatically and use your text messaging facility as well to help that process. And then finally, you've got a full audit at any time to look at what's happening across your business with the key situation. That summarizes it pretty succinctly, doesn't it, in terms of what you're about?
That sounds good to me, yeah.
Good. Well, look, Tim, absolutely great to hear that. I'll look forward to seeing many of the different innovative waves. Once more, thank you for joining us on Kerfuffle. And anyone who's interested, as Tim has said, he saved me the job. Either click on the wonderful pink button on their Keyzapp Kerfuffle webpage, landing page, or reach out to Tim directly and obviously just make sure he knows you're a Kerfuffle member. And once again, Tim, thank you for joining us here today, and speak soon.
Thank you. Speak soon. Cheers.
Thanks a lot.